When analyst Maeve Corbin uncovers a trail of secrets behind her boss's mysterious death, she's thrust into a world where every truth is weaponized, and every ally could be a lie. As the lines between justice and betrayal blur, Maeve's fight for answers turns into a race for her life. But just when she exposes the corruption that killed him, a message appears on her phone. It's not finished. Daniel wasn't the first. Now Maeve must decide: walk away with her freedom, or dive deeper into the shadows that already claimed the man she once loved. Because in this world, the truth doesn't set you free, it marks you next. The city looked almost holy under the rain. Streetlights shimmered through the blur of water cascading down office windows, and inside the 30th floor of Corbin and Vale architecture, Maeve Corbin was still at her desk, tracing the edge of a blueprint she no longer needed to finish. Her eyes weren't on the lines. They were on a reflection of herself in the glass. 33, award-winning architect, and recently named co-partner of the firm her late father built from dust. To anyone else, she had it all. But that reflection, tired eyes, untouched coffee, the half-smile she forced when someone said, "You're your father's daughter," told another story. She was running on empty. Her phone buzzed. "Elias Hart, you're still at the office, aren't you?" Maeve smiled faintly and replied, "Guilty." Elias Hart had been her business partner for 3 years. Sharp-minded, magnetic, and disarmingly kind when he wanted to be. They'd met during a design competition in Zurich. He'd been her biggest rival then, and somewhere between rivalry and friendship, something quieter had started forming. Something unspoken. The kind of thing you protect by not naming. Her reply was barely sent when the door creaked. A voice, soft, familiar, broke her solitude. Still trying to impress the ghosts? Maeve turned. Lena Ward, her lifelong friend and the firm's PR director, leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a teasing smile that didn't reach her eyes. Maeve exhaled. "It's easier than impressing the living." Lena chuckled, stepping in. "The gala's in 48 hours. You can't hide up here forever. The Corbin name's still currency in the city, and you're about to cash in." "I'm not sure I want to," Maeve murmured. "Not like this." Lena tilted her head, studying her. "You're talking about Elias again." Maeve's silence confirmed it. For weeks, whispers had drifted through the office. Rumors that Elias had struck a side deal with Marinex Developments, the same company that had once tried to bankrupt Maeve's father. A betrayal too cruel to believe, but the timing of his secret meetings, his evasive late-night calls, it all scraped at her trust like sandpaper. Still, she couldn't imagine him doing it. Not Elias. "Look," Lena said, perched on the edge of the desk. "He's ambitious, sure. But so are you. If there's one thing I've learned about men like him, it's that they'll burn bridges if they think it makes them shine brighter." Maeve looked away. "I'd rather not believe that." Lena's eyes softened. "Then maybe don't dig. Sometimes ignorance really is mercy." But Maeve had never been the kind to leave questions unanswered. That night, after Lena left, she opened Elias's project folder on the firm's shared server. It was password-locked, something only senior partners could do. And Elias had never restricted a file before. Her heart ticked faster. She entered a few guesses. Vale, 2024. Heart design. Elias and Corbin. Nothing. Then she tried Marinex. The folder opened. Inside were dozens of design drafts labeled confidential. Each bore the Marinex watermark, and worse, the firm's signature logo. Her father's legacy, her legacy, stamped on someone else's commission. Her hand trembled as she scrolled. Her blueprints, altered, repurposed, now branded under a rival's name. Elias hadn't just taken their work, he'd repackaged it for profit. Her phone buzzed again. "Elias Hart, you still awake?" Maeve stared at the screen, jaw clenched. She didn't reply. Morning came with headlines. Corbin and Vale faces allegations of project breach. Leaked designs tie firm to Marinex scandal. Maeve froze as the articles flooded her inbox. Someone had leaked the files she'd just discovered, turning her into an accomplice overnight. Her phone rang nonstop. board members, clients, journalists. The first call she took was from Richard Donovan, the firm's chairman. "Maeve," his voice thundered. "What the hell is going on? These designs trace back to your server credentials." "My credentials?" she repeated, voice cracking. "That's what the metadata shows. You'd better fix this, fast." The line cut. Panic churned through her chest. She stared at her computer, realizing that the digital fingerprints could have been altered. Only Elias or someone working with him could have done it. When she called him, he didn't answer. When she texted, there was silence. Hours later, a single message arrived. "Meet me at the old atelier at midnight. Don't tell anyone." Her heart twisted. The atelier had been her father's first studio, abandoned after his passing, still smelling of turpentine and dust. It was where Elias and Maeve had shared their first real conversation years ago, back when dreams still felt safe. She drove there through heavy rain, headlights cutting through fog. The studio stood dark and hollow. The roof still leaked. Puddles dotted the cracked concrete floor. "Elias," she called. A figure stepped from the shadows. But it wasn't Elias. It was Marcus Hale, a reporter she'd met months ago during an urban development expo. Ambitious, dangerously charming, and too curious for his own good. "Maeve Corbin," he said, holding up his phone's light. "Didn't expect to see you here. Then again, someone wanted me to." She stiffened. "What are you doing here?" He smirked. "Same as you. Following a trail. Only difference, I didn't expect the trail to lead to a woman accused of corporate theft." Her jaw clenched. "If you came for a story, you're wasting your time." "Maybe," he said, lowering the light. "Or maybe I came because I know Elias Hart isn't who you think he is." Her pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" Marcus hesitated, then handed her a sealed envelope. "He's been under investigation for over a year for industrial espionage, money laundering, and wire fraud. Marinex is just the surface." Maeve opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were printed emails, bank statements, and photos proof. Elias's signature on contracts with Marinex executives. Her firm's name is buried beneath shell companies. And one photo that made her heart stop. It showed Elias and Lena, together, leaving a hotel in Zurich 6 months ago. The air left her lungs. "No." Marcus's voice softened. "I thought you should know before you defend him publicly. Whatever this man sold, it wasn't just your designs. It was your trust." Maeve's knees felt weak. She turned toward the window, watching lightning crack through the sky. Outside, the rain poured harder. Inside, her world unraveled quietly. Maeve stood frozen, the envelope limp in her trembling hand. The storm outside raged harder, slamming against the studio windows as if the world itself demanded she look truth in the eye. Marcus Hale's face was shadowed, unreadable under the flickering ceiling bulb. "I can help you, Maeve. But if you want the truth, you'll have to stop protecting him." She whispered, "I'm not protecting him. I'm trying to understand why." Marcus studied her, then stepped closer. His tone softened, yet carried weight. "Because men like Elias don't need reasons, they need opportunities." Her jaw tightened. "You don't know him." He raised an eyebrow. "Don't I? He charmed his way into your firm, into your confidence, maybe even into your heart. That's what he does. He builds trust, then sells it to the highest bidder." Maeve's throat ached. His words hit too close. She turned away, her reflection wavering in the cracked mirror on the far wall. Once, she'd believed Elias saw her for who she really was, not as Corbin's daughter, not as an architect in her father's shadow, but as Maeve. Now that belief felt foolish. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked, voice brittle. Marcus leaned against an old drafting table. "Because someone wanted to destroy you, and I don't think it's just Elias. The leak, the credentials, the timing, it's too neat. Someone's been planning this for months." Maeve's heart stumbled. "Who?" "That's what I'm trying to find out." The bulb above them flickered once, twice, and then went out. The studio sank into darkness. Maeve's pulse spiked. "Marcus." "I'm here," he said, pulling out his phone flashlight again. But before he could turn it on, The faint echo of footsteps came from a hallway, slow, deliberate. Maeve's breath caught. Marcus motioned for silence. He stepped toward the door, peering through the glass slit. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice, smooth, calm, unmistakably familiar, echoed through the corridor. "Maeve, we need to talk." Elias' heart. The air froze between them. Marcus's expression hardened. "You invited him?" Maeve shook her head.
No.
"I didn't tell anyone." Marcus moved to the side, whispering, "Stay behind me." The door creaked open. Elias stood there, rain dripping from his coat, his gaze sharp and searching. "Marcus Hale," he said flatly. "Of course." Marcus smirked. "You've had better entrances, Hart." Elias ignored him. His eyes locked on Maeve. "You shouldn't be here." She stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "Neither should you." "Maeve. Don't." She held up the envelope. "How long were you going to keep lying?" His jaw tensed. "You don't understand." "No, I don't." She cut in, emotions surging through her words. "I don't understand how the man I trusted, who worked beside me, who pretended to care, could sell my father's legacy for profit." Lightning illuminated his face for a brief second, guilt carved into it like stone. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," he said quietly. Maeve's chest tightened. "Then tell me how it was supposed to happen." Elias glanced toward Marcus. "Not with him here." Marcus scoffed. "If you're planning another lie, do it in front of witnesses." Elias took a slow step forward. "You think you know everything, journalist? You've seen the surface. You don't know the deal I made to keep this firm alive. You don't know who's really behind Marinex." Maeve frowned. "What are you talking about?" Elias hesitated. His gaze flicked toward the windows as if weighing whether to tell her. Then he exhaled. "Lena," he said softly. The name landed like glass shattering. Maeve's breath faltered. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Elias's tone was bitter. "She approached me a year ago, said the firm's finances were worse than you knew. She said Marinex could help us recover in exchange for some prototype designs. I thought I was protecting what your father built, but I didn't realize she was selling both of us out." Marcus narrowed his eyes. "You expect us to believe that?" "I don't care what you believe," Elias snapped. "The files were leaked through her access terminal. She's the one who sent those headlines flying." Maeve's world blurred. The sound of rain, the thundering of her heartbeat, it all merged into one sharp pulse of disbelief. "Lena," she whispered, the woman who'd comforted her, defended her, warned her not to dig, was the one who'd buried her alive. Elias reached into his coat and pulled out a small flash drive. "Everything's on here, proof of her transactions, the offshore accounts, the messages between her and Marinex executives. I came tonight to give this to you before she destroys the rest." Marcus eyed it warily. "That's convenient." Elias looked at Maeve. "You can hate me all you want, but she's the one who made sure your name was tied to the scandal. She wanted you out so she could take control of Corbin and Vale." Maeve's voice cracked. "And you just went along with her?" He lowered his gaze. "At first, yes. I was desperate. But then I realized she never intended to save the firm. She wanted to burn it down and rebuild it under her name. I tried to stop her, but by then, she already had your digital signature and the media on her side." Marcus crossed his arms. "So what now? You think one flash drive will undo all that?" Elias met his stare. "If it's delivered to the right hands, yes." Maeve took the drive, her hand trembling. "Why should I believe you?" Elias's voice softened. "Because despite everything, I never stopped trying to protect you." For a moment, the air between them thickened with silence. Maeve wanted to scream, to cry, to believe, but trust felt like a luxury she could no longer afford. Then Marcus's phone vibrated. He glanced down, his face shifting. "We need to go. Now." "What?" Maeve asked. "Someone just accessed the security cameras in this area," he said quickly. "Your location's been pinged." Maeve turned to Elias. "Who would?" A sharp crash interrupted her. The front door burst open, wind howling through the corridor. Through the rain, Maeve caught a glimpse of a shadowed figure standing outside, a woman's silhouette, umbrella in hand. Lena Ward. Lightning flashed again. Her expression was unreadable, but her voice carried through the storm. "Well," she said with a chilling calm, "isn't this a reunion?" Maeve's stomach dropped. Lena stepped inside, rainwater streaking her hair, her eyes cold and confident. "You never could stay out of your father's ruins, could you, Maeve? How poetic that it ends here." Elias tensed. "Lena, don't." She raised a hand. "Don't what?" "Tell her what you both already know? You tried to outsmart me, Elias. You forgot who taught you how to lie." Marcus shifted closer to Maeve. "We need to leave. Now." But Maeve couldn't move. She was staring at Lena, the friend who'd been closer than a sister. "Why?" she whispered. Lena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Because you never deserved what you inherited. Everything you touch turns into a monument to your father's memory. And I got tired of living in someone else's shadow." Maeve shook her head, voice trembling. "You are my family. And you were my mistake," Lena said coldly. "Goodbye, Maeve." Before anyone could react, Lena reached into her coat and pulled a small remote. She pressed a button. The studio lights flickered, and then a deafening explosion tore through the far wall. The blast threw Maeve backward, glass shattering, smoke filling the air. She hit the ground hard, ears ringing, vision spinning. Through the haze, she saw Marcus dragging her toward the exit, Elias shouting something she couldn't hear. The last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was Lena's silhouette disappearing into the rain. The drive back to her apartment felt longer than usual. Streetlights streaked across Maeve's windshield like ribbons of faint gold, the hum of tires on the wet road echoing her pulse. The night had settled thickly over Portland, heavy with rain, fog, and something else, something she couldn't name. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen, before answering. "Maeve Corbin," a calm male voice said. "Yes." "Who is this?" "I'm Detective Rowan Layton, Portland PD. I understand you were close to Daniel Mercer?" Her heart skipped. "He was my supervisor." The detective paused for a breath that sounded deliberate. "We'd like to ask you some questions. It's about an ongoing investigation involving Mercer Financial." Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel. "Investigation? I'd prefer we speak in person," Layton replied. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., downtown precinct." The line went dead before she could ask anything else. Maeve sat there for a moment, staring into the dark. Daniel Mercer, charming, brilliant, impossibly composed, had been dead only 48 hours. A heart attack, the news said. But now the police were involved. Her thoughts ran wild. Was it money laundering? Insider trading? Something worse? When she finally parked outside her building, she didn't remember the last 5 turns. The rain had stopped, but her pulse hadn't slowed. Inside her apartment, she found silence. The kind that made you aware of your own breathing. She slipped off her heels and walked toward the kitchen, trying to calm the static in her chest. On the counter, her answering machine blinked red. One new message. She pressed play. "Maeve." The voice rasped male, trembling. It's not what you think. Daniel didn't die of natural causes. Please meet me." The message cut off in a burst of static. Her stomach twisted. No number. No name. But that voice that sounded like Liam's. Liam Hartwell, Daniel's former business partner, and once, long ago, her closest friend. Before she could process it, thunder cracked outside, followed by the low wail of sirens somewhere in the city. Maeve backed away from the machine. The room felt smaller now, the walls closer. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she opened her laptop and began digging. Mercer Financial had been Daniel's crown jewel, a consultancy firm that grew too fast, too smoothly. Every article called him visionary. Every photo showed him smiling in tailored suits beside senators and CEOs. But Maeve knew Daniel. She'd seen the private him, the late-night calls, the way he locked drawers and encrypted files even she couldn't access, though she was his lead analyst. Now, scanning through public filings, something caught her eye, A series of shell companies, all registered to a name she hadn't heard in years. Lucian Voss. Her breath caught. Lucian had been Daniel's silent investor, and her ex. Their breakup was the kind that scorched everything in its wake. She hadn't spoken to him since. Her hand trembled on the touchpad. If Lucian was involved, then Daniel's death wasn't random. By morning, the city had turned cold and gray. Maeve dressed carefully. A dark blazer, muted lipstick, her hair pinned back, armor against the uncertainty ahead. The police precinct smelled of coffee and rain-soaked paper. Detective Layton was waiting, tall, early 40s, with a quiet confidence that made his badge look like part of his skin. His eyes, sharp but kind, flickered toward the chair opposite his desk. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I'll be brief. We have reason to believe Daniel Mercer's death was not accidental." Maeve's pulse spiked. Do you suspect foul play?" He leaned back. "Toxicology reports show traces of digitalis in his system. A cardiac glycoside. Difficult to trace unless you know what you're looking for." She exhaled slowly. "Someone poisoned him." Rowan nodded slightly. "Possibly. But that's not all." He slid a file across the desk. Inside were photographs, Daniel with several men she didn't recognize. And one she did, Lucian Voss, his arm around Daniel's shoulder. She froze. "You know him," Rowan said, watching her reaction. "Once," she whispered. "Years ago." He studied her. "Then you should know he transferred a large sum to an offshore account 2 days before Daniel's death." Her stomach sank. "You think Lucian killed him?" Rowan's gaze didn't waver. "We think Lucian Voss may be involved in something much bigger. And we think Daniel Mercer found out." That evening, Maeve walked the waterfront, the cold wind off the river cutting through her coat. Her mind replayed Daniel's final days, the stress in his voice, his cryptic comments about clearing things up, and the last night they spoke, when he'd looked at her like he wanted to confess something. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Maeve," the same voice whispered, the one from her machine. "You have to stop digging. They're watching you now." Her heart pounded. "Liam? Where are you?" Silence. Then, "Meet me where it all began." The line went dead. Maeve stared at her reflection in the black water. Where it all began. For her and Liam, that meant the old observatory on the hill, where they'd spent nights years ago dreaming about futures that never happened. Now it was a ruin, abandoned, and if he wanted to meet there... She looked up at the darkening sky and made her choice. The road to the observatory wound through the forest like a scar. Her headlights carved thin lines through the fog. The air grew colder, the trees thicker. When she reached the top, the building loomed in silhouette, the old dome cracked, vines creeping across the stone steps. A single car was parked nearby. Black. Unmarked. She cut her engine and stepped out. The night was unnaturally still. "Liam," she called. Her voice echoed into emptiness. Then movement. A figure stepped from the shadows. Tall, in a dark coat. But it wasn't Liam. It was Lucian Voss. "Maeve," he said softly, almost warmly. "It's been a long time." Her blood ran cold. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. He smiled, the same smile that once melted her, now sharpened into something dangerous. "You shouldn't have come. Daniel's mistakes were his own. Don't make them yours." She took a step back. "You killed him, didn't you?" Lucian's eyes darkened. "No. But I know who did." Before she could respond, headlights flared behind her. 2 black SUVs cresting the hill. Lucian's voice dropped. "Run, Maeve." She turned, but it was too late. Doors opened, boots hit gravel, and armed men began advancing. Lucian moved faster than she remembered, grabbing her wrist, pulling her toward the forest. Gunfire cracked through the night, bullets slicing through mist and pine bark. Maeve stumbled, heart hammering. "Who are they?" Lucian didn't look back. "People who don't want you alive by morning." They reached an old service road and dove behind a fallen tree. Maeve gasped for breath. Lucian looked at her, rain on his lashes, blood on his sleeve. You have to trust me, Maeve. She glared. Trust you? You disappear for years, Daniel dies, and now I'm being shot at. Daniel found something. Lucian cut in. Something he wasn't supposed to. He told me the night before he died that he'd hidden proof. Files, names, accounts. And he said if anything happened, I should find you. Maeve's mind reeled. Why me? Lucian's gaze softened, almost painfully. Because he knew you were the only person who'd never sell the truth. The rain began again, soft at first, then harder, washing blood into mud, blending footsteps into the earth. Maeve shivered, realizing that Daniel's death was just the beginning, and that whatever came next would demand everything she had left. Rain swallowed the forest in sheets of silver. Maeve and Lucian moved fast, sliding down the muddy slope until they reached the old railway bridge at the base of the ravine. Water roared below, black and violent. The flashlights behind them flickered through the trees like fireflies. Keep moving, Lucian said, breath ragged. Where? Maeve demanded. They'll find us. Lucian pointed toward a concrete tunnel carved into the hillside, an old drainage passage. They slipped inside, crouching in darkness. For several minutes, only their breathing filled the space. Maeve's heart pounded so loud, she could hear it echo. Lucian tore a strip from his sleeve and pressed it against his arm. The blood had slowed, but his face was pale. We'll have to disappear for a bit. I'm not running, she snapped. Not until I know the truth. He met her gaze in the dim light, a flicker of pride, maybe admiration. Still stubborn, he murmured. Still alive, she shot back. Start talking. Lucian leaned against the tunnel wall. Daniel found evidence that Mercer Financial was being used as a front. Offshore laundering, political bribes, and insider deals. He tried to cut ties, but the board wasn't just corporate. They were the government. Maeve's stomach clenched. Government. Defense contracts, foreign accounts, a shadow network. Lucian's eyes hardened. Daniel tried to blow the whistle. And someone silenced him. Who? Lucian hesitated. Rowan Layton. The name hit her like a blade. The detective? Lucian nodded grimly. He's not just a detective. He's the one protecting the operation. He needed you at the station today to see how much you knew. Maeve's chest tightened. He seemed genuine. That's the mask, Lucian said quietly. He's been cleaning up loose ends. Daniel. Now you. Thunder rolled above them. Maeve's head swam, the weight of betrayal crushing the last of her composure. She'd trusted Rowan, told him about Daniel, and she'd walked straight into his trap. By dawn, they reached an abandoned gas station off the highway. Lucian hacked into a public network using a burner laptop, his hands still trembling from blood loss. Maeve paced the floor, mind racing. Daniel said he hid proof, she said. Where? Lucian didn't answer. He was staring at the laptop screen, a strange light in his eyes. What is it? He turned the screen toward her. On the map, a single location blinked red, coordinates pointing to the Mercer Foundation archives, the charity wing of Daniel's company. That's where it is, he said. He hid the files under their donation records. Maeve nodded, resolve hardening. Then that's where we go. They reached the foundation building by nightfall. The structure loomed over glass and steel against the storm. Maeve's access card still worked. Daniel had never revoked her credentials. Inside, the air smelled of dust and silence. Lucian powered up a terminal, fingers flying. Encrypted partitions buried under accounting data. Maeve stood guard, glancing at the glass doors, her nerves stretched thin. Every sound made her flinch. Got it, Lucian muttered. Files on political kickbacks, forged invoices, offshore logs. This could bury half the board. A light flicked on behind them. Maeve froze. Rowan Layton stepped from the shadows, gun raised. His badge gleamed under the fluorescent glow. Drop it, he said. Both of you. Lucian's jaw tightened. You're late, detective. Rowan's voice was calm, cold. Walk away, Lucian. You've done enough damage. Maeve's pulse thundered. You killed him, she whispered. Daniel. You killed him, didn't you? Rowan's eyes met hers, unreadable, almost regretful. Daniel was about to destroy everything we built. I gave him a choice. He refused. You poisoned him, she said, her voice breaking. He didn't deny it. Rowan took a step closer. Maeve, listen to me. You don't have to go down for this. Hand over the files. Let me fix it. Lucian glanced at her. He's lying. He'll kill you the moment you do. The gun trembled slightly in Rowan's hand. You don't know what you're talking about, Voss. You disappeared because you couldn't face the fallout. Fallout. Lucian snapped. I left because I found out who you really were. Maeve's mind spun. Two men, two versions of truth, both standing in front of her with the past unraveling between them. Her hand hovered near the laptop. If I upload this, she said quietly, it goes public. Everything. Maeve, don't, Rowan warned. Lucian's voice was steady. Do it. She pressed enter. The file transfer began, data streaming across the screen like veins of light. Rowan lunged forward. A shot rang out, deafening in the glass room. Maeve dropped to the floor, heart in her throat. Lucian staggered, clutching his shoulder. Blood bloomed beneath his fingers. He fell against the console but slammed his hand down on the keyboard, sending the files to every major news outlet in the country. Rowan fired again, but Maeve was faster. She swung the fire extinguisher into his arm, sending the gun clattering across the floor. They struggled, his hands closing around her wrist. You don't understand what you've done, he shouted. This isn't just about money. It's national security. Maeve met his eyes, breathless. Then maybe the wrong people have been guarding it. She kneed him hard, breaking his grip. The second shot went wide, shattering glass. Lucian pulled the fire alarm. Sirens wailed through the building. Rowan turned toward him, but police lights flooded the windows. Real officers this time. He froze, realization dawning too late. Maeve stepped back, shaking, the weight of everything crashing down. Rowan dropped the gun and lifted his hands, his calm finally cracking. You think they'll thank you? He hissed. You've just exposed a machine bigger than both of you. Maeve stared at him, voice trembling. Then it's about time someone broke it. 2 hours later. Rain drummed on the ambulance roof as Maeve sat beside Lucian, who winced as medics wrapped his shoulder. Still reckless, she murmured. He smiled faintly. Still worth it. They watched as Rowan was led past them in cuffs, expression blank, soaked to the bone. Maeve felt no triumph, only exhaustion. Daniel would have been proud, Lucian said softly. She turned to him. He would have hated that it came to this. Lucian met her eyes. You did what he couldn't. She looked out at the flashing lights, the chaos fading into dawn. The truth was out now, but she knew this wasn't over. Someone else had built the network. Rowan was just a cog. Her phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. It's not finished. Daniel wasn't the first. She froze, staring at the words. Maeve? Lucian asked. She pocketed the phone, forcing a steady breath.
We're not done, she said.
Not yet. Outside, the storm began to break. Faint sunlight bleeding through the clouds, touching her face like a warning and a promise.